is on the difference between weeding lines in Silhouette Studio Business Edition and in Sure Cuts a Lot Pro. As you can see here, I've got a page full of stars. Some of them are lined up pretty neatly. Some of them are kind of astray. I have the exact same file pulled up in Sure Cuts a Lot. As you can see, I do have the Pro version. I have a large cutter and it came with it. So going back to the Silhouette Studio, when you have the Business Edition, you look up here and you'll see that you have a icon for weed settings. And when you click on it, it brings up the options here, and you click on Show Your Weeding Border. And what that does is it automatically creates a box around every cuttable item, every item with a cut line on the mat. And you can adjust your padding here if you want it, closer or further away. Then you go up here, you have your weeding lines, and by default they're turned off. It only creates the border, but then you can go to horizontal, and as you can see, it creates horizontal lines anywhere it has a straight path from one side of the original border box to the other. If you go to vertical, it finds any path it can find straight, from one edge to the other. If you go to horizontal and vertical, it combines the two. And recursive creates any squares that it can find while still maintaining straight lines and your squares and rectangles. Pretty nifty feature, especially if you've got lots of small text that are fine, intricate details. If you go to Sure Cuts a Lot, like I said, you do have to have the Pro version, and it is a pricey upgrade. But you can see here, like I said, the same file. You want to select all of your text or images. You go to Effects and Weeding. And I like to make this bigger so I can see what I'm working with. And here it tells you, it automatically creates that same border that Silhouette Studio does. And it tells you the difference in these icons up here at the top, or what you're going to use to create your weeding lines. Now in Silhouette Studio, it only creates ones from side to side, and it creates them themselves. This, with Sure Cuts a Lot, you can create your own wherever you'd like them. So you'll see that the different types are adding lines from the outside to the edge, just within shapes, around the shape and through the center, and lines within specified areas. So you can see here I have this first one is checked by default, and that's adding lines from the border, that rectangle or square it created, to the outside edge of the shapes. So if I click right here, you can see that it creates this cut line. It creates that same horizontal line that Silhouette Studio does, but it also goes through the middle instead of having to find a place straight through without cutting through. And you can see that it doesn't cut through the shape itself. And I can go through here and I can create one, and I can go through here and I can, space out several so I can make it, a pretty even thing. And you'll see here is the same way vertically. I can go straight through and it cuts my lines, but it does not touch the shape itself. Then one feature I have noticed, you have to start all over. There's no way to delete one single line at a time. You would have to go to Reset. However, if you go to the next one, it is adding lines within the filled area of a shape. So that would be if for some reason you wanted to weed the inside of all these at the same point. These are horizontal, and then as you can tell, there's also a vertical option. The next icon is adding lines around the shape with any holes. This one's going to be a little harder to show you, but it would be, for instance, if you had a 0 here, and it would cut the weeding line through the center part of the 0 that you would normally weed out as well. And then adding a line within a specified area, it just puts it in between like the two closest shapes. If you wanted to separate, a couple of things or whatever, and here, vertically, it works inside the shape or outside the shape. So then once you have your weeding lines the way you'd like them. I like where we have kind of, the same sorts of boxes and stuff. Then you click OK. And you'll see that it creates those cut lines for you. So when you go into your preview and you see that you've got to show your cut lines and everything, you can see that it shows you that all this will cut. Sorry, let me jump back there. Here it shows you that you can see all of these lines that will cut, and that way you can peel just squares at a time, and it will keep it from let you work with smaller areas and keep from pulling up some of those smaller, finer details. So I hope that helps some of you make a decision on whether you'd like to upgrade on either program. I will say Sure Cuts a Lot is a different program to get used to if you are used to Silhouette Studio. So you may want to start out with a free trial or the regular version before upgrading to the pricier Pro version.